Dirty old town, it's a dirty old town. A young man named John Thompson, from the Wellesley Five he came to play for Glasgow Celtic and to make himself a name. On the 50th of September, against the Rangers club he played. From defeat he saved the Celtic, but what a price he paid. The ball rolled from the centre, young John ran out in tight. The ball rolled by, young John lay still, for his club this hero died. I took a trip to Parkhead, to the dear old paradise. As the players came out, sure the tears fell from my eyes, for a famous face was missing from the green and white brigades. And they told me Johnny Thompson, his last game he had played. Farewell, my darling Johnny, Prince of players we must part. No more we'll stand and cheer you on the slopes of Celtic Park. Well, the fans, they all are silent as they travel near and far. No more they'll cheer John Thompson, their bright and shining star. So come, all you Glasgow Celtic, stand up and play the game. For between your posts there stands a ghost, Johnny Thompson is his name. For between your posts there stands a ghost, Johnny Thompson is his name. Well, I took a stroll on the old long walk of the D.I.A. I met a little girl and we stopped to talk on a fine soft G.I.A. And I asked you, friend, what's a fella to do if her hair is black and her eyes are blue? And I knew right then I'd been taking a whirl round the Sol Hill prom with my Galway girl. We were halfway there when the rain came down on the D.I.A. She asked me up to her flat downtown on a fine soft G.I.A. And I asked you, friend, what's a fella to do if her hair is black and her eyes are blue? taken of the world, and I lost my heart to a Galway girl.
Billy McNeil holding the cup for Celtic.
That is sensational! Celtic are the champions.
Welcome to Celtic Park. Welcome to the Celtic Park home dugout. Very shortly, this will be occupied by Brendan Rodgers and his coaching staff because it is the first day of the competitive league season. This is where the games really matter. St Mirren are the visitors here to Celtic Park and kick-off is not long away. Welcome to Celtic TV's live coverage. Joining me in the dugout is a man who's, I was going to say no stranger to the dugout, but you weren't often a substitute
I was not.
in your day.
It's either dropped completely.
Peter Grant, of course. Peter, how much are you looking forward, not just to today and Flag Day, but the season in general?
Oh, this is the part you look forward to most because pre-season's done. I'm not a great believer in the pre-season. As a player, I used to love when it was coming to the nitty-gritty. And this is what all the players will be delighted for. This is what Brendan will be delighted for. Everybody fully fit, coming into a new season with a new challenge ahead. So really looking forward to it. Perfect day for it. And unfurling that flag as well. And let's make sure we keep it.
Yeah, I was talking to Alistair Johnson the other day and he was talking about how as elite athletes, they do need that edge of when the games matter. As you say, pre-season is good up to a point. You get some glamorous ties, but these players are used to performing when there's real pressure, and that begins today.
Well, there's a double-edged sword with Celtic because every game's competitive for Celtic. But there is a difference when there are points to be played for, or you're qualifying for Europe or in Europe and winning these games early in the season. And you can see what can happen. People always look for a trip up at the start of the season. Celtic are always focused, and the boys have been brilliant at that. You know, that's the one thing they've done continuously. They've been continuously ready and very, very well prepared. And I don't expect anything else other than that today again.
You covered a number of the pre-season games for Celtic TV, Peter. What did you make of the games themselves? What did you make of the preparation? What did you make of some of the new boys that we had a look at?
Well, I think it's great because the build-up is the way you'd expect it. You start a little bit at the lower levels and then all of a sudden you can see the quality gets better you're playing against. Still trying to manage the minutes is always a problem because you don't want to give too many minutes to someone, you know, and not enough to other ones because you need everyone. I don't call it substitutes now because of the amount of changes you can make. Everybody's such a vital part to play. So I think Brendan's managed to do that very well. I think Stephen Welsh, if I'm right, was the only one to get an injury throughout pre-season. And as a manager, that's all you can pray for, is no injuries. You get to this stage now it's the selection headache you get as a manager. You see the boys that's been on fire, doing well in training, and some surprise you. You know, I've been really impressed with Negrin when he's played in the area he's played in the middle of the pitch. I thought he's been terrific. Kieran Tierney coming back, obviously with Greg Taylor going. He looks fantastic. He's a fantastic, wonderful player. I'm sure he'll get a fantastic reception as he did last week. But you know the challenge is there all the time. But as I say, no substitutes anymore in my eyes because everybody will have a massive, massive part to play in the season throughout.
Yeah, you mentioned Negrin, you mentioned Kieran Tierney, a huge afternoon, a big season as well for Adam Ida, playing through the middle. The pressure's always on the strikers to get goals. I know you're a fan of Adam.
I'm a massive fan of Adam Ida. I think you look at his stats last year. I'm not sure if it was 2 games, Jerry. He started last year. Played 90 minutes, and I think he got 4 goals in that period. And I always remember when strikers weren't playing particularly well, and it's a bit different now because they get taken off at 60 minutes or they're coming on for 15 minutes because of the amount of substitutes, and predominantly it's the middle at the front that the changes get made, whereas the strikers were always on the pitch for 90 odd minutes because they were your main men, and it didn't matter how poorly they were playing, you always knew they'd have a goal in them. I'm a big supporter of him, and I believe if you give him the service, yes, he'll miss the odd chance, of course, that's what strikers do, but I'm sure he'll score a hell of a lot of goals, and his record last year was a lot better than people gave him credit for.
It's a tough start for Celtic. St Mirren are the only team outside of Celtic and Rangers who have finished in the top 6 in the last 3 seasons, so Celtic will be big favourites, but St Mirren come here with confidence. They got that draw in the last game of the league season last year. They're a strong physical side and a number of new faces for them too.
Stevie Robinson's done a wonderful job. I remember about 3 seasons ago I was at a game pre-season League Cup and the fans were shouting for his head. In that next 3 years, he's qualified for the top 6. It's been an incredible job he's done, and he keeps building. It's so difficult because predominantly loses his best players, as he did again last year. But he keeps finding them. He knows how to build the team. His team's structured in a very way. I don't think he gets the credit at times for the way they play. You know they're very good at set plays. You know that predominantly they've got a long throw. You know they're physical, that they've got quick and they've got pace. And you've got to mix the game up. And Stevie's teams do that fantastically well. So we know it's a challenge. I know they've made it difficult for us, as you said, even the last game of last season. But he's done a wonderful job. But I'm sure Celtic are prepared for Stevie Robinson's team.
Well, let's hear from the man who has to prepare the Celtic team. Brendan Rodgers has been speaking to John Ledwith.
Brendan, the unfurling of the league flag is a reminder to everyone of who the champions are, but does it also serve as motivation for the boys in the dressing room to go and do it again?
Yeah, I think it is. It's a very small window of reflection in terms of what you've done last season, but as soon as the flag's up, we'll leave that in our history and the titles that we won last year and be really motivated to do it again this year.
Does it also act as a motivational tool for other sides coming here to challenge the champions, and you'll expect a very tough challenge from someone?
Yeah, I think it's a really tough game for us today, and they always are opening games, but for us we want to go and start to show today the team that we want to be for this season. You know, as always, our game is based around the attack and defending really aggressively, so hopefully we can show the team we want to be over the course of the game.
Of course, we finished last season with a match against St Mirren. You'll know just how tough it can be to break them down. How important is the speed of the play today, and perhaps the creation of someone like Benjamin Nygren who starts?
Yeah, well, Benji can turn in tight spaces, and obviously when a team that's so compact and tight, to be able to do that is key. But he also can score goals. So yeah, all the players will have a contribution to make. But yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing him make his debut here at home.
Best of luck today,
Pleasure,
Brendan.
thank you.
I am absolutely delighted and honoured to say that we're joined here by the man who will unfurl the League Championship flag, the maestro himself, Paul McStay. Paul, welcome home.
Thanks,
welcome to your spiritual home as well. How does it feel to be back?
That's brilliant, yeah. Not just driving up there, seeing the stadium again. I think it was 6 years ago I was here. So, no, it's great to be here and sitting beside this guy as well. So, brings back a lot of memories. Yeah. But just great to be here, a great honour, and delighted that the club's asked us. So.
And I was just thinking, because I think only 2 players in history have played more Celtic games than you, Paul. Obviously, Peter's got a good number. In fact, I think between the 3 of us, we're just shy of 1,200.
Yeah, that's a good number, yeah.
He's got 1,100 of them.
No, it's a privilege to play here, as Peter will testify as well. And I think a lot of ups and downs during my career, but I think the biggest thing is it's just a privilege and an honour to play with Celtic. It's a team we grew up supporting, and to get the chance to play with the hoops on is definitely a dream come true. Yeah.
Well, you said there was ups and downs. When I spoke to the manager Brendan Rodgers the other day about you coming, he had a great line. He said despite the fact it was difficult times, Paul McStay always gave you hope. And I think that was a great way to describe. I mean, when you look back in some of your highlights, you scored some memorable goals. But when you look back in those eras, and Peter, for you, how much did this man give you hope when you had him in your team?
That was the most important thing, that he was available. You know, you always wanted him available for every game, and he always was. I think people don't realise that Paul, I think it was 31 if I'm right, Hart. And when you finished? 32. I think he'd have played a hell of a lot more years if he never had the injury, unfortunately, and he'd have played a hell of a lot more games. That was down to his quality. You know, he was an unbelievable player. He always had, as you say, hope when he had an opportunity. With the strikers we had, I'm sure every one of them that scored their 20s and 30s and 40 goals this season would all be a great thought about Paul McStay, because half of them had been provided with him.
You've been away from Glasgow and Scotland for a number of years, Paul, living in Australia, but I'm sure that you get reminded on a daily basis. I'm sure you meet Celtic fans all over the place.
Yeah, no, there's a good network of Celtic supporters clubs over there, and the Sydney boys I know very well. Nick Cameron's over here now, actually, so I'll catch up with him. But they do a lot of good work promoting Celtic, no, and what it's all about, the club, no, the charitable works they do even in Sydney, no. So yeah, there's Celtic fans all over, and I've been lucky to connect with quite a few over there.
You, of course, were known as the man who spent his whole career at Celtic. We've got a couple of players here just now in that same boat. Let me ask you first of all about James Forrest. Of course, he scored that famous goal here against St Mirren to equal your 16 seasons in a row scoring record. What do you make of the likes of James?
Fantastic. I mean, there was one mighty roar in Sydney that night when James scored. No, just willing him on to achieve that. Just delighted for him. No, I mean, to stay at the club for that long and achieve that success, the same as Callum as well, just fantastic. So delighted for them. Yeah,
I was going to ask you about Callum. Of course, you wore the armband with pride here. What do you make of Callum as a leader, as a captain?
Fantastic. I think he's there. I think on the park, no, maybe similar to myself a wee bit. No, you are vocal, but I think he makes himself available and drives the team forward when need be as well. But again, what he's achieved is sensational.
Yeah, and what will it feel like to walk out, as you will do shortly, onto this pitch? These supporters will give you a massive ovation.
Yeah, well, hopefully. Time will tell, but no, I'm looking forward to it. No, I say it's a great honour to be here today and to unfurl the flag. I came here as a fan many a time to see it happen as well in the old days. So to be asked to do it is again an honour. So look forward to it. Yeah, the main thing is 3 points.
Absolutely, it is, and of course this man sitting next to you were partners in midfield for so many years. You get the adulation as being the maestro and all the rest of it, but I'm sure you'll be the first to say that you wouldn't be the player you were without Peter Grant. He's always saying that.
Brilliant teammate. To have him beside you in the park was brilliant, and the only downside I did suffer was a roommate. So I mean that was probably the downside. But on the park, again, like myself, grew up Celtic fans, and you get that chance to go out in the park and pull the hoops on, and you just give it your all. And that's the main thing. Though maybe sometimes your performances aren't great, but I know with Peter, myself, and other lads like TB as well. No, just Big Roy, you just gave everything you had. You don't leave anything at all. You just give your 100%.
And does it feel, Peter, I know you guys don't see each other often because of the miles between you, but does it feel when you meet that you kind of pick up where you left off?
As if I seen him yesterday. I mean, it's always a great honour and a great privilege. I say on the pitch it was great, but it was more the man I got to know, and as Paul touched on a little bit, that we were roommates for so long, so we know each other inside out. We suffered, we enjoy together, all these things, and I think that's what made the camaraderie between us. It never really disappears. And then the two boys lived together, Chris and Raymond, and that brought us together as well, which was quite incredible actually. So we're blessed in that respect, and that's the way I count myself. One, to be blessed as a friend, but also as a teammate, but as I say, more importantly, as a friend.
Well, it's great to see you both. It's great to see you both looking so well. Paul, I know you need to go. You've got some important business.
Well, this is what it feels like to be Celtic. For the supporters, the players, the staff, that everyone has given everything on the pitch and off the pitch. For that, we're all champions today.
Celtic have done it!
Fantastic to speak to the great man and Paul McStay.
Thanks for that, Jerry. I thought that's what you meant.
No, it was great to see the two of you together, and Paul, lovely gentleman, of course, always such a humble figure, but a superstar, an absolute legend of this club, and he will be coming out very shortly onto the hallowed turf, and the turf is looking fantastic for the opening day of the season, and he will raise that championship flag that you can see in front of me. It's a day for legends, not just Paul McStay and Peter Grant, but we'll be paying tribute to the late great John Clark and John Fallon, who both passed away in recent weeks before today's match. It is where things count, of course. There are points up for grabs in this game. The pre-season is over. St Mirren will be a tough opposition. We heard the manager say how tough. This will be no walkover, but to get 3 points in the opening day of the season and set a marker will be an important one for Celtic. Let's have a look at the starting 11 then for Celtic. It will be Kasper Schmeichel in goal, a back four of Alistair Johnson, Cameron Carter-Vickers, Liam Scales and Kieran Tierney, making his second competitive debut for Celtic. Callum McGregor, Rio Hatate and new boy Benjamin Nigren in the middle, Yang and Maeda on the wings and Adam Ida through the middle. On the bench for Celtic, goalkeeper Sinisalo, and then your outfield substitutes are Austin Trusty, Luke McCowan, Shin Yamada, Johnny Kenny, Arne Engels, Paulo Bernardo, James Forrest and Anthony Ralston. And as the famous walk-on gets played at Celtic Park, Peter, you can feel the hairs rise in the back of your neck. This is what it's all about.
Absolutely, and this is a dream that was always made, that you wanted to come out here once to that noise. But coming out as champions makes it something completely different. Singing in the sun, and we hope it's the start of another fantastic season. These boys have earned it. It's the hard graft starts again. You're champions for 6 weeks, I keep saying, and you have to go again.
It's a family afternoon. Beautiful weather here in Glasgow's East End before the storm arrives tomorrow. But these supporters are here, bedecked in the green and white hoops, ready to play their part and hopefully cheer their side on to the first 3 points of the season. Celtic are the champions, and we have this tradition in Scotland of Flag Day, where you get an opportunity to just kind of remind yourself as the successes from last season, as St Mirren, the opposition, are led out by their captain Mark O'Hara.
Yeah, you most definitely do, and I think the enjoyment comes from that. You know, you've worked extremely hard to get that, but it also whets the appetite to go again, because there is not a better feeling when you're coming out as champions. Great credit to St Mirren, waiting on the boys coming out, but it's a hard graft. 38 games to go continuously to be champions again. People talk about trebles. Trebles are so difficult, but these boys have done it tremendously well. But this is the champions coming out, and hopefully it's the start, as I say again, of a fantastic season.
Paul McStay there on the right hand side, just ready to lead the team out. I'm sure Callum doesn't know what Paul said in his interview there, but to be compared to Paul McStay by Paul McStay is quite a compliment.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. He's a quiet leader. That's the way Paul was. Paul's ability, he done all the talking for him. I done all the pointing, he done all the playing.
I think maybe Callum's maybe somewhere in the middle of the two of you. I don't think he's too quiet.
Yeah, well, I would say that as well. And he started to point a hell of a lot, I've noticed as well. So that's important. But no, he's right in the respect to that. Quiet leadership sets the standards, and that's exactly what it means to play for Celtic Football Club.
And it's those high standards that get you through such a gruelling season. Celtic, of course, competing on 4 fronts, 3 domestically, 1 in Europe. We've got that home and away Champions League playoff tie coming up later this month, but before that, some huge games, not just this one here, but trips away to Aberdeen next weekend. We've got a cup tie at Celtic Park against Falkirk later this month, a trip to Ibrox. It's a huge month, Peter.
Yes, it is, but listen, you know that Paul spoke about it as well. Every time you pull on the Celtic jersey, you have to be ready to compete and fight for everything. But listen, but can't you see this man coming out? It's fantastic to see him coming out. So I think I like to give him this.
Yeah, absolutely. What an ovation for Paul McStay. Fantastic. For Celtic supporters of my era, Paul McStay was the hero, as the manager said. He gave you hope, as you did as well, Peter. But Paul McStay on the pitch could always make something happen. He could turn like a London taxi, and all of a sudden the play would open out. He would play an incredible pass like he did against Rangers in the New Year's derby in 1988 to turn that game around, and he had that ability. These players will, if they know their history, certainly that man there does, will be inspired by the likes of Paul McStay. But there's a reminder that Celtic are the champions. Celtic are the ones that are there to be knocked off that champions perch. But with this man, with the armband and this team behind him and this management team behind him, it will be very difficult for any team in Scotland to make that trophy at the end of the season end up in any other trophy cabinet other than here at Celtic Park. Celtic will be putting out one hell of a fight to make sure it stays exactly where it is now.
He'll be more nervous about this than anything else he's ever done in his life. I know what he's like. Give him the ball, no problem.
So Celtic Football Club, the Premiership champions from last season. Paul McStay does the honours. Only won 3 titles in a long Celtic career. It just shows you remember, Peter, more than most, how difficult it was back then. But maybe a word of, not a word of caution to the Celtic supporters. Many of them in the stadium.